I think last time I
Only Nikhil and
Yeah.
Jeffrey.
Streaming is on.
All right, I think we can get started with the discussion. So, Mohammed, do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I really love the movie, Certified Copy. Um, it was like I was really mesmerized by the cinematography because it was stunning. The beauty it carried. I think the other movie I have seen is the Portrait of a Lady on the Fire, and it was like you feel that you being going around that town in Italy. Yeah, the movie really made me happy, and I could see the town how they are going, and I'm always fond of long shots, how they are carrying the things. Uh, I really loved, but other part the philosophical questions that what is the reason for existence. I couldn't get through that, but apart from that, the acting, the it was really fabulous. Then I went to this actress, then saw that yeah, she's a well-known actress, and yeah, her acting was fabulous. Um, I really loved the movie. So that's all I can say. It was really awe moment when I was finished, and yeah, I think there are many symbolic message conveyed through these shots which I couldn't get through means got an understanding of it. Like many things are there. As we progress, I may put some of the questions. You may help me understand those scenes in the movie. Thank you.
Okay. ADP, do you want to go next? First reaction about the film.
I mostly came to listen, but
Okay.
sure, I don't mind.
But you saw the film, right?
Yeah, I watched the film. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just happened to watch the film. I didn't think I'd have the time, but then
But,
I started it up, and
just
then I
gut
got caught up.
reaction.
with it.
Whatever you felt about it, did you
Yeah.
enjoy it? Was it boring?
No, I definitely enjoyed it. I just started it,
Okay.
and then I got hooked, and I just
Oh.
watched the whole thing. And I really like the conversations about life and how the simplest things are what makes worth life living. Doesn't matter if I mean, doesn't matter if kids are. I mean, people have priorities, go to school, go to work, all of those things. But what's the point if you don't actually enjoy the little things, or just enjoy your day-to-day moments? Find joy in little things. In the end, we're all like just insects on a rock hurtling through space. So yeah, whatever we do, even if it seems significant or not, it's to us it is what matters. So that's what I really resonate with that. About the acting, I don't know if this is a legitimate critique, but I feel like they acted a little too well because
too well. Okay.
Yeah, because when they switched into role playing, I got very confused. I thought I missed something in the story, and I thought they were married, or I missed something that there was a clue they were married. It was not like humans who are acting, but instead it was actors who were completely in the role. It didn't feel like they were normal humans who were just role playing. Like,
but
it was flawless. It was too flawless. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me ask you this: which part was the role play?
When she's at the cafe and and the coffee lady says he's a nice husband, and she goes with the flow and doesn't lie to her. I mean, she lies to her and they go on that train of thought continuously, right?
Yeah, basically. So your suggestion is 60% of the movie from the cafe till the end was all an act.
Yeah. That's what I got.
Okay. This is up for debate. We'll talk about it.
Okay. Cool.
As it.
Yep, that's it.
But who's going next? Samartha?
Yeah, I was just thinking of this 60%. We'll talk about it later, but I think there were points there in in the later part where I was beginning to think if actually he is, the husband who has come back or something. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But a couple of things. One is I wanted to watch this movie badly because I like Taste of Cherry a lot. Uh, the thing I like watching Taste of Cherry is how he handles conversation between two people. He takes two characters, and I don't know too many directors who can keep it going like that for 2 hours with just something happening between two people. I'm sure there are others, but Abbas is really really good at that. And the way he films the conversation between the two people is also the framing, particularly. In that Italian film, I think Vivek, you were talking about how it's kind of unconventional because the he doesn't do an over the shoulder, right? So even here there is no over the shoulder. So the interesting aspect of that is it felt like the characters are, even though they're in a conversation with the other person, they're also, feels like they're talking into the camera and reflecting into themselves, like almost like if the camera is a mirror that's giving them an opportunity to talk to themselves and that process. So I think it's a very interesting way to film a conversation between two people and sustain it for so long. I also felt, I don't know why, but I was kind of reminiscing the before sunset, after, and all, that series, because people walking and talking. But overall, it is, I think it is Abbas, it is one of his best. So that's the main reason I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to seeing his other movies as
well. Okay. Kritik?
I'll be back in a minute. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Nikhil, are you there? Is your audio working now? I guess not. It seems you are unmuted, but there's no audio from your side. But let's go back to the discussion about 1 second. About what is and is not real, right? Because that's the most fascinating part about this film. Samartha said the before series, before Sunrise, Sunset. Those films also have this, walk and talk, as you called it. Or there's many mumblecore films which focus on, simple characters, simple storytelling. But why is this film so special? Because it throws a lot of ideas at you at a rapid pace in the beginning, a lot of philosophies, ideas, concepts, and then it becomes a relationship drama. I don't know who that was, but your audio is working. Nikhil. Nikhil, was that you? I don't know. So, yeah, a fascinating aspect of this film is what is and is not real. Were they already married, and was she just pretending to be an overexcited fan in the first third of the film? Or were they just role playing based on the concepts and philosophies that they were discussing? What it is and is not real? Is their relationship real? Is the marriage real? I think Nikhil's phone mic is not working. Okay. Jeff, is your audio working?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome.
You want to go with first reaction, then we'll continue with what we were doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was really taken aback by the half. I was already engrossed by the time the twist happened. Like I was like, I was either like I found the setup and the proceedings, the first act in general, to be very engrossing. Again, it had, I think Samartha just mentioned, it had that before sunshine, the before sunrise type energy in it. Two strangers meeting, one of them being a writer, going around the city, blah, all that. But the twist, I mean the pivot rather, like I suppose we can call it that. The pivot really got me thinking more deeply about the kind of relationships. I think like I guess my personal take. I mean, I watched it a week back, so I had a week to think about this about the movie. So in turn, it was what inspired the pivot. Was what inspired the poster uh, for the post. I mean, for the thing, because I realized, like, upon like while I was studying the thing, while I was studying, like while I was googling all the posters for the movie just to see what they have done, I realized that this particular thing, like this particular aspect about the film, wasn't visualized in any way possible, or it wasn't like the nature of the relationship wasn't shown apart from your typical rom-com type poses or just a general scenery type stuff. So
I
I
had
tried
this
to do
problem too when I was making the lineup poster.
a,
All the posters for this film are so terrible. Why is that?
yeah,
How come?
even the trailer. I have to bring that up. I
Trailer
hope
I
none
didn't
of you
see.
watched the trailer.
Trailer I
Yeah,
didn't see. But
yeah, it was marketed like some typical rom-com, like he met her in this,
yeah,
what is it, like
horrible.
thing. And yeah, but okay, so I feel like my personal take was it's like this extended metaphor on how we project, how the most close, our closest relationships in turn define the way we see the world. So maybe it's like in her own mind, she's reacting to this guy this way because he's hit a couple of trigger points that in a way activated the way she sees her husband, her memories of her husband, and likewise for him, for likewise her for him, you know. And I think it's like the movie. I think the whole second half is just a elaborate, an elaborate visualization of this particular thing, this particular aspect. Like say, I suppose, like say a real life example would be like family. I suppose. I think in a way, the way we are treated in our families would determine the way we treat other people in school or in our relationships or work, etc., etc. Or our childhood. So our childhood, whatever, or our there are some takeaways from each of our relationships that we in turn apply to other people subconsciously, consciously or subconsciously. So I think the entire second half was just one giant. It was meant to, like, maybe the director was trying to interrogate us by by literally visualizing this on screen and making you question. Like it made me question how. This is what it made me question, like in myself. So that's what I took away from the movie. I don't think it's supposed to be taken literally. Just like how Taste of Cherry's ending isn't supposed. Like, I think he's being very, I think he's playing a joke on us by doing this. Like him, Juliette Binoche, I forgot the actor's name. Uh, him, like I think like sorry, I forgot the ADP said also like it's all about the little things. Like he's just telling you to like Abbas is essentially telling us through this movie to like pay attention to the little things and also like just try to see where try to see what elements of you come from these little things or show across these little things and how maybe reframing it could lead you to lead a better life, I suppose.
So your interpretation is that after the cafe, which is the turning point of the film, everything else was just make believe and role play.
I think it's just an maybe it's like I think it's just an extended metaphor, the whole movie, like maybe there are elements like, I mean, okay, so I'll give you an example. There's a scene in Annie Hall, the Woody Allen movie, uh, where the characters are shown to have the two lead characters, Woody Allen and Diane Keaton. They're having a normal conversation, but you also see the subtitles that detail the thought process, like what they really think about them. They're like judging each other through the subtitles while they're like being nice on through dialogue. So I think this movie is essentially that, but on a bigger scale. But also on a more like it also explores a lot more about uh, relationships, I suppose, like relationships or how long term the I wouldn't say the trauma, but like the conclusions that we are well, that we come to after being in a relationship for that long, how the betrayal can feel, or how losing love, falling out of love with someone can feel over years, and how it can in turn change the way we see ourselves or how we lead our lives.
But
Uh,
going back to the core of the question, the film is called Original Copy. What is original? What is a copy? What is real? What is not real? So,
oh
for
boy,
the
yeah.
sake of conversation, I'm not going to share an interpretation. I I'll be
Yeah,
the
yeah.
devil's advocate, and you guys have to convince me that your view is correct. So
So
I think you and ADP came with the judgment that, with the assumption that the whole second half, the relationship part, is a act, and the whole fangirl book signing thing was real.
I think it's more or less one and the same because
Really?
it doesn't matter. Like I think the real
You
thing
can't
is
say both.
like
There's no fun
okay,
in that.
okay. Let me just there's no fun. Okay, I suppose so. But it's more like I'm not questioning it. Like it's more like as long as the copy serves the purpose as the same purpose as the original, which is to keep us hooked to the narrative. What's the difference? Uh,
Okay.
or rather, like as long as it keeps us questioning, or as long as it keeps us thinking, or on our edge, rather. Like
Yeah,
the movie kept me on the edge. Like for a movie about people talking, like throughout the movie,
this
it
film
kept
is
me on the edge.
meticulously
Like
crafted.
it was very like, huh?
This film is meticulously crafted.
Yeah. Oh my god. I mean, I was looking to watch it again before the discussion because
Yeah.
but I didn't get the time today.
I saw it
But
again today after 10 years, and it,
wow.
it reads just as good as it did when I saw it in
Yeah.
theaters.
I I'm already looking forward to watching this once I'm at their age. Maybe like maybe I'll be able to
Oh, I'm not
appreciate
that
this a
old.
lot better when I'm 40 or something. Because I feel like I'm like part of me feels like I'm not suited, like I'm not old enough to appreciate this movie. Because I feel the same way about Before Midnight also. Like I don't know if I know like I don't know if there's a lot more to it that I can't attempt to reach access right now because of my age and because of the how because of the place I am right now in life and so on and so on. But I think there's a lot more. I think this is one of those movies that'll keep giving you something as you grow up and watch it again. So,
By the way, Kritik Mohammed Samartha, do you have an interpretation? What was real? Which part of the film was real?
Yeah, I was going to chime in on that. Thanks for asking. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking, it maybe the attitude of, so this is one of the reasons I love panel cinema. Like if this I'll throw this question open to you. If this screenplay went to a big six Hollywood studio, right? The feeling I have is they would start critiquing it. Audiences, will have no clue what's going on. There'll be hundreds of critiques, but the way I look at the way Abbas has crafted this, which I think you can only do in a parallel cinema universe, is it doesn't really matter. Like I feel it's open to interpretation, just like Taste of Sherry, and whichever way you think about it, whether he is the husband or he isn't, and there's the 60% you mentioned. I think the beauty of it is it's just as good. It really doesn't matter which side it is. That's the way I'm thinking.
Sure, that's what the film is trying to convince you, that it doesn't matter if part A was real or part B was real, because you
Yeah,
believe both of them.
yeah. But the only issue I
But
have
then,
is
hmm,
when it starts getting ugly at the restaurant, right?
hmm, hmm,
With the wine being poor quality or whatever you
yeah,
say, that kind of firepower is I found it unconvincing that it can come from role play. See what I mean? Like, but then the
hmm.
beauty of it is it doesn't matter even if they are like two theatrical actors.
No,
trying
it
to
does
pull
matter
marks.
because the deeper you dig, the more you find out about the film.
I see.
Hmm.
Interesting. Interesting. But yeah, that's how I felt. I felt the firepower, the ugliness in the
Hmm.
relationship was too real for it to not be the real couple. So that's why I was kind of conflicted.
Okay,
Like what?
being a devil's advocate, I'll say something. Uh, if the relationship was indeed real, no, then how come every time she mentions an event, his look is of confusion? In the sense, when she talks about um the hotel, where they spent their honeymoon, or she talks about um, last night you were snoring.
Yeah,
If last night he was snoring, then why was she, fangirling over him with the books?
yeah, and the different windows and what did you see out of this and where was the
Yeah,
hotel and all of that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
for
sorry, go ahead,
Jeff's team, let me ask you this: if the relation, actually, no, you are on Jeff's team, no, you're like, the relationship is real.
yeah. I'm
Okay,
confused
okay.
now.
Jeff and ADP and Samartha. What about Kritik and Mohammed?
Actually, I started to think about it now,
Yeah.
but I feel the first part was real because
Okay.
I think the son doesn't. The son questions her, "Why don't you mention our surname?"
Hmm.
So the son can be one of the proof that she's meeting him for the first time. Uh,
Hmm.
that is my take on the.
Okay.
But Vivek, sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt. I'll just quickly say this. I am actually on the question mark side, which is I'm saying basically that
No, you
it's
can't pick both sides
neither.
though. Jeff tried
No,
it.
no, I'm saying it's not, I'm not taking both sides. I'm saying it's neither, and it doesn't matter. That's the side I'm on. So I'm saying that the way I'm seeing the filmmaker put it through is he's creating two characters and dealing with deeper issues, and that is more important for him than the question of which is real or which is fantasy. That's sort of my opinion on it. I frankly think Abbas doesn't and that's what I meant when I said that that's something you can do in parallel cinema, in my opinion, that you can't do in, a theatrical 3,000 theater release, where if the story doesn't answer these pertinent questions, the audience are thrown off and they're not going to come back a second time. So I think the beauty is there is a haziness and a doubt, but it really doesn't matter because the deeper issues it deals with are dealt with so well. Relationship issues I think it still hits home. That's what I'm on
Yeah, but you still have to pick a side. You
the
can't
side.
you can't go both ways,
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
one of
That's
them, they're contradicting. I think that you will agree on. Part A
yeah,
and
yeah,
Part B are
absolutely.
contradicting.
Yeah,
So,
yep,
and I'll tell you what. When I saw it, when it came out,
yeah.
saw it with a few friends. Then we all went down somewhere to get dinner. We had multi-hour conversation about what is and is not real, and how, you know what is the more plausible one.
Yeah.
And I saw it again after 10 years today. I can say, I at least to my understanding, there seems to be a choice which satisfies both part A and part B.
Interesting.
But that's the reason I don't want to share my thoughts, because then it ruins the fun. Kritik?
I do agree with. I'm kind of afraid to take a side on anything on any of the ideas mentioned in this, because a lot of them are conflicting and a lot of them are convincing, and most of them are presented without any judgments or opinions. but I do find myself agreeing a little bit with what Jeffrey and ADP were saying. Mostly because I'm not very interested in it if it is completely real. I mean, why it makes sense if they're role playing in the second half. It doesn't make sense if they're role playing in the first half, at least to me. And as to Samartha's thing about several how some of the scenes were rather intense. Maybe they're pulling something from when they're acting, like actors, they pull something in from their lives, and they're playing this stereotypical husband-wife dynamics, and it gets too real for them, and sometimes, and there is, uh, I think that's all I have to say. I do find myself agreeing with Jeffrey and ADP, but yeah, I'm pretty much confused. And I believe also purposely it has been crafted to maintain this ambiguity where no side can be right or wrong. But it is, but I think we can still have some value in discussing about it.
By the way, ADP, since this is your first discussion, just wanted to say you can unmute at any point and jump in to go back and forth with anyone who's talking. It's really not a moderated kind of a discussion, even though sometimes it goes in that direction. But let me get this right. ADP and Jeff, Kritik are on the side that part B is fake. Part B is role play, right?
But
And
again, I'm gonna take a little bit of a compromise, but I don't think it is like fake in that sense.
but
Like
you say
they
it's
are,
role play, right? After the cafe, they basically role play
yeah, just
because
because
you said
it's
they're
role
pulling from
play,
memory and they're
I don't like to say fake in this case, but role play is the
but
correct.
the relationship is not real.
Um, that relationship which they're showing is not real, but
They're
perhaps they have
not married. They're
experienced.
not husband and wife. It's a
Yeah.
fake marriage.
Okay, I think I'll explain this from my
Okay.
side. I think part B is an extrapolation. It's like a branch. It's like a branch. It may have been imagined by the guy. It may have been imagined by the woman. I don't know who. I can't. I don't think the film leaves it ambiguous enough to not tell us from whose point of view we are seeing the events from. Like it has an omniscient POV throughout. So I don't think we can treat it as someone's dream or the other person's role play or whatever. So I think it's just a branch in time. I think that should be a sufficient response.
Could you explain what you mean by branch in time? Jeff?
I think his network is down. You got that gray symbol.
Oh, okay. Hey,
Yeah,
Jeff,
but
can you hear me? Mohammed, I'm sorry, I forgot which side you picked.
I think the second part was role playing.
The role play. Okay. So
Yes.
everybody except Samartha is thinking that part B is fake or part B is role play. So for the sake of support, I'll be on Samartha's team and I'll say the relationship was real and the opening act was fake. Let me think. Samartha, we're thinking the relationship is real, right? So I'm trying to revisit the film in my mind.
Actually, like I said, I know I can't take this choice, But I'm saying that it doesn't matter. Like I think the original intention of the filmmaker is to, like, if my opinion is that he doesn't care about that aspect at all. Like it is, he's playing with the characters. That's all he's doing. So if you could interpret it either way, that he's throwing it open to. I'm saying both choices are right, but I know I can't choose that. So that's really my stance.
Hmm.
Because I think the reason, so I'll quickly say this, I can resonate a lot with this, what these guys are going through, because I knew a couple who it was like watching them, like I've known a couple for 10 years now, and they had exactly the same issues. Like literally, it was almost like watching a film of their life, right? So I could resonate very deeply with what's going on in that relationship. I would hear about, the stories from one of them. And I think to me that was the more impactful part of the movie, the frustration in the marriage, the issues they've had, the kid, all the family stuff. So I feel that's the bigger intention of the director as well. And then he's having fun with, just like Hitchcock would have things open, right? Like he would sometimes leave it open ended. I'm sure there are a lot of filmmakers who do this. So it's just a tool, but I think the issues he really wants to deal with cut a lot deeper. And I think he did a great job with the latter.
Um, I also feel
Okay.
that the discussions about originals and copies kind of ties in if we do assume that the second part is a role play. But if the first part is a role play, I am not sure how it tie into the copy and the original, because I think there's also direct, a quote which I think everyone can agree upon is that copies do lead to originals.
That's the opening statement of the film, right? That the copies have value because eventually people find appreciation for it and try to seek out the original work because of the copy.
So yeah, I'm a little unsure of how this would fit in if the first part was a role play.
What? That's It's a brilliant. Thanks for bringing up the title theme, and also what I think is the main theme of this film, the copy versus original. And now I'm just thinking maybe he's a copy of character-wise of her original husband. I'm just thinking along those lines now that you brought that up. But again, I think it's open to a lot of different interpretations.
Yeah, since this topic of copy versus original is brought up, let's talk about that for a moment. Um, yeah, the film feeds you this point that copies have value, and in fact, it makes a bolder claim. It says copies are as valuable as the original.
But just a quick one: does the film make that one, or does the character make that one?
Well, yeah, the character makes that point. The character is of the belief that it doesn't matter if it's a copy or it's an original. What you see is really equally beautiful.
Which character?
The writer.
But she also says the same thing when she talks about the painting, right? That she took him to see in the museum.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she otherwise doesn't believe it, she still says that nobody knew it was a copy and was still celebrated work of art.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So she also agrees in a sense.
No, she took him there to show him that this is something interesting nearby to see.
Mm.
But it didn't he didn't really have a big reaction to it, even though it is
Yeah,
completely tied to his work.
he spent years
And
doing it and he's done with it.
In fact,
but he had no reaction, and that's what she gets frustrated about, that you could at least have said
Yeah.
something that, oh, it is really beautiful, I'm glad you took me here to see it. So that brings you another conversation, that if that work of art is as beautiful as the original, how come it's not that big of a reaction from him? Because I mean, I know many people who've been deeply moved by certain paintings and certain artworks. So
So Vivek,
yes.
sorry to interrupt you, but there's a line in the movie where he talks about the Mona Lisa, right? And he says
Yes.
it's very interesting. He goes to the third degree. He says uh, even the smile on the subject is not original, and the only original thing is that person, like the person who was posing for the painting, right? So I was thinking maybe this guy is more for the original rather than the copy, based on that particular interpretation.
That makes
So,
sense.
but I don't know. That's just one. I can't remember his other references, but
One more, I can add one more for that. Uh, when he goes to her shop or at the beginning of the movie and he says, I don't know if I misinterpreted it, but he says these are all copies, and I don't know. I think he said something about how he would not keep an original at home.
yeah.
That shows that he values an original more than a copy, because it's that he says an original will deserve a place in his home only if his home matched it or something like that.
I think it goes quite extreme. He says these will kill you or they're bad for you, something like that.
Another thing, because that scene was mentioned, like, I think a line from that was exactly repeated, like near the ending. You keeping a distance so that you don't get too involved. Uh, whether it is a work of art or a person.
I want to go back to that point where someone said that these antiques can kill you, right? I don't know if it's before or after, but there's a line of dialogue which says that I pick and choose what I want in my home, and if it doesn't match the rest of the aesthetic, out it goes.
Beginning.
Yeah, doesn't matter how valuable it is, but if it doesn't fit the rest of the home, he'll toss it out. So, and I'm assuming he's fairly well off financially, so he may be throwing away actual genuine antiques out of the home just because it doesn't fit his interior design. So there's multiple things you can interpret from this. Is
True. That
one
almost
is
sounds. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, one is that he curates what he wants in life. So this also explains why his wife and child are not in his life. They did not fit his career path, and so he, set them aside and moved on in whatever direction he wanted. And two, even though it may be an original, and assuming all those antiques in the shop are original, they don't mean anything to them, mean anything for him, and which supports his claim that people find value in art. Like, you give it value because you found it beautiful, it is more valuable. And if you find the copy beautiful, the copy has value. That's his thesis, right? So this part would suggest that maybe the relationship is real. So maybe the team that believes that part B is role play can respond to that. ADP, you were saying something.
No, it was the same thing I addressed later on. I was saying that also implies that as much as he believes an original is worth as much as a copy, or a copy is worth as much as an original, it also means to him that they are equally not important. That they are equally not valuable. They can be.
Yeah, the value is brought on by the viewer.
Yeah.
And for him, even if the original doesn't have value, then it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of us, right? We go to a museum, half the paintings will be not valuable to us, whereas some of them we may really connect to. But I'm sure there's someone else in the world who finds the paintings you found boring, they find them valuable. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder, coming back to the same old adage.
By the way, I have a question. Uh, I found a kind of a disconnect in the storytelling when the book release happens, right? And then suddenly there's a scene where he's in a shop. So there is no explanation of their relationship at all, right? It's like a sudden. Did anybody else feel that way? Like, like how is this guy suddenly in the shop and they're planning to go somewhere? For the next half an hour, I was wondering, like, who are these people? How closely are they connected? Are they just uh, trying to have a relationship? Did you feel a little bit lost at that point in the scene?
Not the
I
first time, but I like what you're saying.
Actually, I think she gave the address to that person, translator, who was sitting next to.
Phone number, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the connection. They meet at the event. Before he walks onto the stage, she hastily gets a book signed, and then she leaves a calling card with, I don't know, whoever
And she explained
was.
she had to leave because of her son was hungry and
Correct.
all
The
that.
boy was hungry, so she left some sort of information on the card, assuming it's a phone number or an address, whatever it may be. And then they decided to meet at the shop. But
So,
there's multiple questions here.
I'll just
And
quickly say that at the shop when they meet, right? The chemistry they have feels like a lot like they have known each other for a while. Because if you go into a place and you're saying things like, "Can I let's quickly go get that coffee, let's go for a ride." If you don't know the person, like if you just met with a book signing, I somehow find it hard to believe you will have that level of proximity to the person.
I think,
I
yeah, go ahead.
like he's shown to be this carefree guy who tries to not don't buy into his own hype, but at the same time doesn't want to he doesn't want to stick to the whole. I'm sure he must be brilliant student that whole summer. So for or he's
Jeff,
been
your
seeing
voice is
enough of
breaking
this
really bad.
hospital. Oh, okay. Let me just try.
Try connecting to Wi-Fi.
Can you hear
Maybe
me
that
now?
might. Can hear you in
I'm getting
parts.
disconnected from Wi-Fi. Um, one
No,
minute.
still sounds like a robot. So I was going to frame multiple questions around this this event that happened in the beginning. That if they are a real couple, why does she have to leave a calling card? Why can't she just call him on his phone
Yeah.
and ask him to come meet at this place? Or if they are indeed strangers, then she comes and takes a seat in the front row in a reserved seat.
Oh, that's true.
How does that happen? You can't just sit in a reserved seat at a private event. And the people around her, like the organizers of the event, they all seem to know who she is. In fact, they even guide her son to come and sit in the reserved seat. That doesn't just happen randomly.
To answer to the last part you asked, no, how come they allowed her to sit in the reserved seat? It may be because she had a antique shop. She might be well known in that circle that she's related to this art, keeping antiques and kind of shop. So they might have allowed her. Just guessing.
Also, in the car, there's a scene where she says how honored she is that she is driving him around, and if she was very close to him, I guess that kind of proves that she is. I mean, if she's very close to him, right? Like
The
a couple.
alternate theory is that the first half is role play, right? So it could be that.
Yeah, if
She
she's
could
her
be
wife, she
sarcastic.
wouldn't be fangirling over him.
She could be sarcastic though, like.
Yeah, basically, you wouldn't, tell the guy, I really admire your work. It's such an honor if you know that person. boyfriend or a husband, right? So I don't know. I'm just thinking about it.
Hmm.
I hope I could ask something which was running in my head was why do you think they are even role playing? Whether it's and what does it mean if they role play in the first half or in the second half?
Because one of those relationships is real. One of the relationships is original.
Yeah.
The other is a copy.
And what do you think is the difference, like the at least with regards to original and copy? When
That's the question of the film. That what has is the copy as valuable as the original, or does it not? That's the whole point of digging at it, trying to find an answer.
Speaking of familiarity, also the fact that he's to her he's a celebrity, right? And we always feel like we have seen all of their lives, read all of their works, and you feel like you know them more than you actually do. So that might contribute to how she acted familiar with him.
And in the second half, they talk about last night you were snoring and this and that. If they were really together in a hotel room last night, why not just leave the books at his hotel room and leave a note saying that before you check out of the hotel, just sign these copies for me.
Or by last night, she could have meant the last night that they were together.
No, 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 no. They specifically meant last night because it's the anniversary and all that.
I was just the reason I'd like to, go. I would like to hope to push the discussion in somewhere else because I think it is, instead of I feel at least that it is better to discuss like the implications of each interpretations rather than trying to find out which individual scenes like uh, to find which support your theory or whatever.
But I feel that there is much to gain out of knowing uh, which part was real, because it will solidify our understanding of the relation and the message being conveyed by the director.
Okay, let me start by saying I think that the film has been purposely made so that both sides can be, both sides are portrayed to be valid, and there are enough evidences to support both. At least
I
in
agree.
what do you call? Not getting the exact word, but there are enough evidences to support each theory.
Yeah, I
So
agree
I
with
was
that.
hoping we could have a discussion on what does each mean.
Sure, Kritik, you lead, we follow. I don't have an agenda for this discussion. I was not supposed to host the discussion. Nikhil was, but he's not here. So, yeah, we can go with what you're suggesting, and then let's see if we can find something interesting there.
So, Kritik, you were telling that if the first part is real, then what are its implication? Was that your uh, what you were trying to talk
Yeah,
on?
what does each theory like interpretation implies, or what do you think? I mean, it's a question for everyone, even for myself. And you can go ahead if you want to.
Yeah, I yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure if I fully understand the question, which is why I said, you take the lead on this.
So Vivek, I just wanted to thank you for something which is you've sort of people say put a fly in someone's brain, right? So I was just thinking of what you said of the original and the copy. Think of it
Hmm.
in that way.
Hmm.
I really, it's beginning to really get me interested. If you're thinking of one relationship as a copy
Hmm.
and the other as an original, whichever
Yeah.
way you're thinking, right? And
Yeah.
tie it to the theme of the title. I think that's very interesting. And thanks for
I
doing
didn't
that.
know that.
Of course.
Kiarostami did. I'm just
Yeah, now
reminding
the
you.
work. Yeah, now the work in the brain, right?
Yeah.
Now I guess you can
Yeah.
take it off
Yeah.
and it can go either way.
Yeah.
Just to make myself clear, I mean, I thought it was kind of devolving into kind of finding out Easter eggs in the movie instead of trying to talk about uh, uh, the actual ideas that it was trying to engage with.
Can we start from a place of identity? Like I suppose, okay. So here's my working theory. Whatever opinions we hold about the film or the characters in general will tell the others a little bit about each of us, or like the how we see the world or how we see ourselves and so on. So the reason I meant this was, so I suppose most of us are watching this for the first time. Uh, so I think there may be some. I think Vivek has the one advantage of having watched multiple times and having had to think about this over and over again. So I'm sure he would have a different this thing take on it. But for those of us who have watched it once, I suppose let's talk about a singular scene, for instance, or like maybe we can talk about from the point of view of each character, how they would have interpreted all these events had it gone one way or the other, uh, in both parts.
Oh, Jeffrey, you could give a start then, so we'll catch up.
Okay, so here's one thing that struck me, like the conversation with the woman and her son in the beginning, and the implications of that uh, is, and I mean, so like the beginning of the movie is pretty, so yeah, it's pretty standard setup. You're shown these three characters. The boy is impatient. He's shown to be wanting to leave. He's bored immediately. She leaves all her books. I mean, she informs the antique dealer that he wants to. She wants to, like, meet him. I mean, we see them whispering. I don't know what goes on there, but it's assumed that she has a vested interest in him, in hosting him later in the day, and the boy later on in the cafe, the boy is also shown to nudge her into, like, nudge her in playfully, like, whether she has a crush on him or not, and so on, which means that, like, the film tells us that she does see something in him, or he in turn sees something of his dad in him. So maybe in that respect, like, that was my working, like, theory, like maybe the woman sees him as a potential, I mean, maybe, or rather it's the other way around too. uh, like the whole thing about identity, like how we see, how we try to see shades of our partners in other people. Partners name, like, not like our ideal partners in other people, and that's how that comes breaking down once we get to know them long enough, like how that illusion breaks down once you get to know them long enough, and that's hence leading into the second part.
I don't believe I have anything constructive to add to what Jeffrey said, but I'll go ahead and answer the question which I myself brought up. But for me, if the second half is real, it means like that they're trying to learn or realize something by copying from the past, or the past being the original, or from the experiences. And if the uh, as Vivek brings up, and Samatha also brings up, if the one sec- if the first half is the role play and the second part is real. um Wait, have I mixed something up, guys? Guys?
No, I think you're on track.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
can
I
hear
also
you.
get confused while picking a side. Like, which part was I talking about? So completely understand. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so if we take the first half as role play and second half as real, where the relationship is real, maybe they are trying to uh, they were trying to uh, do an imitation of what they expect a first time meetup to be, or again maybe they're imitating how they met in the past, uh, uh, and it devolves into the original, into their current relationship, instead of continuing on that that honeymoon period or that rosy uh, experiences. But that was what was going on in my mind, at least.
Yeah, Vivek, you were saying something.
No.
Okay, I have a different take on this theme relationship. It was really good. I went to a video where this director speaks that about relationship. When you come across a person, a partner, a potential partner, you find that you can lead a life with that person. You can spend the whole life with that person. But as you spend more time with that person, you start understanding it. I think he mentioned very particularly that once you start understanding the partner, you start finding faults, and from there the relationship starts crumbling down. So what I got out of his that lecture, means the talk, was he was trying to say that first part was like you get to know a person, you introduce yourself, then you talk about your philosophy of life, what you like and dislike, and what is the point of, means what's the need of having children. It progresses, and then it starts after cafe. I think that part, like, it is transition after 15 years. So I think it shows that, yeah, after 15 years how their relationship will be, that they will start disliking, they will start having more conflicts than compassion towards each other. uh, so I think it's more on it's talk on the relationship, how it begins, how it maintains through a period, and after a certain time you start being intolerant to that relationship, and yeah, conflicts starts overtaking your love. So that was what I felt through these characters, what director was trying to say, that it's completely love is something uh, very peculiar thing, that once you start understanding, he also mentions that, yeah, if you it's better not to understand them. So that was really like, if I am going to marry a person, how should I lead a life with her? Should I judge her? Should I correct her? Should I mold her into my way of living? uh, if if that makes me happy, then how it's going to progress through, means our lifetime. So it was really a good conversation. It was triggering that, yeah, what means after 15 years, would I be seeing her, um, how we will be leading a life. So it was a good commentary on this, what to say, marriage. So that was my take on.
Mohammed, the film answers this question for you. In the plaza scene, right before the restaurant, you see an old couple who are almost fighting. Right, you see them from a distance, and the man says, "You're wrong. I know you're wrong. You will go home. You'll think about it. Then you'll apologize to me because you will realize I was right. And I always tell you that what I'm saying is correct." And you can see the woman's face, like she's confused and she's lost and she looks a little embarrassed. But a few seconds later, they turn around and they're a loving couple, because that was a phone call. That was not, husband shouting at wife. That was husband shouting at who knows who.
Yeah,
So
I
in
was
reality,
taken back with by
it's
that
not an
scene.
authoritarian relationship. It's not, husband is always right. That's not the relationship they have. They have a very understanding, mutually appreciative relationship. They both care about each other, and even in the 4% discussion that goes on,
Mm-hmm.
He encourages the wife to make her own point instead of repeating what she had already said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that means he respects her opinion and values her input enough for her to take the stage and take credit for her own observation.
Oh, that's why he wasn't repeating her, rather
Yes, it's very
giving
easy to say,
pointers.
oh, she just noticed and she said XYZ. But he continues to remind her that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you notice something about poetry and you notice something about relationships. Can you repeat what you thought? She
Mm.
misses 2 3 times, but he keeps giving her the stage again and again so that she can make her own point. So that shows you that he really respects her and he really cares about her.
Mm.
It's
So
not. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So it's, I think that that tells us that it is good to have our own original self rather than imposing ourselves for making them our own copies, uh, like our partners. Will that be understood?
No, the takeaway is that you you learn to appreciate your partner. If you can't appreciate your partner and you can't think about how they may feel, then you'll be a self-centered mess and nobody will understand you.
So we have to respect their originality, how as they are. We have to love whatever they are, not what we expect out of them.
Yeah, in a relationship there's always compromise, so you may have to compromise a little, they may have to compromise a little, but you can't, the opening illusion that him yelling at his wife that I'm always right, you're always wrong, you will apologize to me, and it's a public place, there's like 200 people in the plaza, so doing that in front of everybody, it's horrible. That relationship does not work.
Mm-hmm.
And to some extent this guy was doing something along these lines.
Mm-hmm.
The writer, he lives in his theories, right? Like he writes books and he you talk about these theories, he'll talk to you for half an hour. You ask
Mm-hmm.
him about when's your son's birthday, he doesn't have an answer. So he doesn't live in the real world, he lives in his theoretical world, and he doesn't take the time to live and appreciate what he has in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another clue of this, very very subtle clue, which I noticed only this time, that in, near the fountain scene, right, they go towards a motorbike and there's a big mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And when you guys watch the movie next time, always pay attention to the reflections, because this film does so much with the reflections. There's a mirror and you can the, the statue is of three people, man, woman and child. Child is sitting on the shoulders, woman is behind him, um, with head towards the man, and the man is, the centerpiece of the sculpture. And in the mirror you can only see the man. Right next to the writer there's a mirror and you can only see the man, which is a reminder that he only sees himself in this work of art, whereas she keeps going on about how beautiful it is that she's feeling safe around him and resting her head on his shoulder. And
By the way,
how.
Vivek, are you talking about the bike mirror one?
Yes.
How did you manage to see it? I couldn't notice that. I couldn't even see the image, and I was so small.
Okay.
That was a really brilliant observation to
But yeah,
mention that.
get a high resolution copy and watch it on full screen.
I did get a good one, but I
Okay.
think the live I watched on a TV only, but I
Okay.
still couldn't see it.
Okay.
I was wondering if you paused it and zoomed in on it.
No.
Because he does go quite close to the mirror, and then it's kind
No,
of
there's two mirrors in the
visually
bike
jarring.
mirror scene.
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
there's a big ball full length mirror also.
Yeah. And the one the writer is standing next to can only see the male portion of the sculpture. So it's self-centeredness. And there's another beautiful thing which happens at this fountain scene, this guy reminds the writer that, listen, I don't know what your history is and I don't know what your future is, but all she needs is for you to be there for her. That you put your arm around her, and that gives her that sense of security that things will be okay, I'm with you. Just that. And the sculpture is also about that, right? The sculpture is about a big, strong man and his wife resting her head, feeling safe around him, that he will protect my family. And who's the family? The little boy on the sculpture's shoulder. So he takes this old man's advice, and when he's about to put her hand on the shoulder, right? Try to look at that scene again. It's very carefully crafted. There's a tree in front of the camera, and the scene is divided into three parts. Sorry, the frame is divided into three parts. Left part is they're walking, center is the tree, right side is the door to the restaurant. So they walk from the left side, right? And the man is following Juliette Binoche. The writer is following his wife. They're not on the same length. Then they walk across the tree, which we can't see. Then when they cross the tree, his hand is on her shoulder. So this scene is very clever because if the tree is a separator, these are two different couples, basically. One is a person who's self-centered and, can't see beyond his own bubble. The other one is the caring husband that woman always wanted. And the impact is instantaneous, right? Like the moment they walk into the restaurant, she goes into the bathroom to freshen up and look nice for him, and she's more jovial, and she comes back and she tries to initiate more conversation with him. But it also shows you how skin deep this guy is, that he took that hand on the shoulder metaphor on the surface. So he said, put hand on the shoulder, he put hand on the shoulder. He didn't really absorb the meaning of that. After putting hand on the shoulder, he went back to his own situation that, I don't like this and everything is your fault, and goes back to fighting and arguing. And it reminds you of multiple scenes in the film that he doesn't appreciate what is in front of him, whether it's the replica painting at the museum, whether it's the sculpture at the plaza, or whether it's his own wife. He doesn't appreciate what he has. He's so
I
busy
think
in his
he's
chair.
more concerned about his comforts than appreciating the presence of her.
No, he's busy putting theory into everything.
Means he is complaining about that wine, this, that.
No, so
I mean, just a quick thing, Vivek. But in the start, wasn't he kind of constantly going about how it's a beautiful day outside and how the cypress trees themselves are old, beautiful, and inspiring in them. I don't remember the exact thing, but he was joking around how that should be his second book. So I feel that's a contradiction. Would you say that?
Yeah, but one
But
of them is
wasn't it
real and one of
something?
them is not.
Wasn't the Cypress thing something that he picked up from someone else or read in a book or
Oh,
something?
is it?
Like I don't recall.
I don't know.
Yeah, can any of you verify that? I don't remember
either.
exactly that whole exchange.
But he says something along the lines that
'Cause
they're so unique and original that if they were in a museum, that they would be unique artworks. But since they're in the open, we ignore them all the time.
Yeah, but also at the end of that, exchange, he talks about how he would want to put it in a new book, which talks about his curation aspect of him, like how he only exists to collect,
Correct,
rather than appreciate. So I think I get what you mean. Vivek. Also, the tree, like the big tree in that thing, could be representative of time passing. Maybe like as they pass through the tree, they enter the cafe, right? Like if you're taking that, if you're taking that metaphor here and applying it here also.
Is there any other scene with a tree in the film? I'm trying to remember.
Mm,
Because usually, if there is a repetition, then
yeah,
you can make a pattern
yeah,
out of it.
yeah.
I'm just trying to think. There is some repetition about weddings and church.
Oh yeah, there was that golden tree, right?
Yeah,
Sorry, what?
so many couples in the
They
film.
make their vow. They make their promises to a golden tree or the
Yeah.
tree statue.
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
Oh, right. Yeah, that too.
So I
Yeah,
don't have a reading for that. You guys have thoughts for that?
also like
What is a tree in the film?
we have couples from all stages of life featuring in the film. So
Yeah,
there's
they
that
made
too.
a small
Passage of
joke
time.
that one couple is getting photographed, the other couple is sitting up behind complaining that, hey, can you guys hurry up? And just as this guy stands up, a new bride takes place to sit in the waiting queue. So, yeah, they made a quick joke over there.
And she looks so solemn, like despite it her being like the expression caught me off guard.
I think she was
The
crying.
expression-
One of the brides were crying. I don't know.
Yeah,
why.
yeah. The one who replaces his seat.
Yeah.
ADP, you mentioned something in the chat.
No, that's just
speak it out loud.
I transcribed the subtitles
for
really? That scene. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks a ton, man. I don't know how much work you did for that.
No, I just copied from the subtitle file.
Age, functionality.
Yeah,
okay. Here's something interesting. Originality, beauty, age, functionality. These are the definitions of a work of art, according to the writer. So I wonder if the film has something to say about all these subjects.
I think he's saying those are generally the definition of a work of art, except he goes the other way.
But in the opening of the film, he also admits that I'm not from the art world, that I'm not a professional critic, I'm not an artist. I'm just someone who made an observation and wrote a book and somehow became popular. So, yeah, he made a theory out of something. And that something happened to be a mother and a child talking about a replica sculpture. Which is, implied that it is his wife and son.
Can we is there anything to take away from the conversation?
Jeff, could you repeat that? Your voice breaks up whenever you speak.
Is there anything to draw from the conversation between and the bartender? Just before the pivot happens, the twist happens.
You mean the cafe barista, the lady?
Yeah.
Yeah, the conversation, the heroine and the barista, the lady in the cafe have, is that a bad husband is still better than no husband. That is that lady's view. And she says, you also need to appreciate the fact that on a Sunday, when most men would be sleeping, he took the time to come out with you for a walk and drink coffee with you and tell you stories.
Right.
So
now,
that's the conversation they had.
Yeah, and what I meant was I don't know how were we supposed to define or were we supposed to was that also an observation that we need to read a little more into? Is that applicable advice considering her case here, or what exactly was the barista? I mean, the barista didn't know her particular context. But in general, what do you think the director was trying to tell the viewer there
I don't know what the director
through
was
that
trying to tell,
exchange?
but I feel like the barista was projecting, right? Based on her experiences, maybe her own relationships. Like you
Yeah,
said, this shows many stages of many
yeah,
relationships. So this is just another one where she has had one where she would love to have a husband like this instead, who's caring and is there. And shows things
yeah.
to be grateful for.
Yeah, so that's one way I took it. But there's also the other, like the more negative or the more cynical one, which is about how, like, maybe we shouldn't have any expectations for husband. Uh, Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so there were like I saw it in two different ways, and I wasn't quite sure about how to like how to take that whole dialogue, that whole exchange. So I was wondering what the group's thoughts were on it.
Both of them agree on one point, that husbands love to work and
Hmm.
their work is their life. It's almost as
Hmm.
if it's like breathing. They cannot live without working, as if it's as important as breathing. And
Hmm.
it is true for this guy for the most part, that you can see he's spending time with her. Yes, he's taken her to a cafe and they've gone on a drive, but all they talk about is work,
Yeah.
at least until that point in the film, or at least his work. Theory
Yeah.
about originals, copies, artworks, and uh, all these things. Everything that
Yeah.
he's written a book about, he's just recycling what he's written.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the conversation turns towards family matters and relationships, he doesn't have much to say.
Hmm.
So, if anything, it reflects on, I guess, every one of us, all men as a whole. Why does work play such a big part of our lives? If it does, that is.
Yeah. Cause so like what it sounded like a lot. I mean, uh, so one thing that caught me off guard about that one scene was regarding where we were supposed to be on like hello. Yeah, like regarding how where the placement of it in the narrative.
Sorry, what
I,
were you saying?
And
I think it
like
served a purpose, right, of putting in her introduce her getting the idea of him being her husband. That's what Inception,
yeah,
and
like
that's what
I
the
the
coffee
segue,
lady
yes,
applied.
but
Yeah,
the conversation alone, like it got me, like it had me confused for a while. Like rather the implications of it, because it sounds um so because on one idea I could take it as a way to, I mean, maybe like I took it in a way that maybe you should just conform and be okay with what you have already, which I didn't see. Like I didn't see the point in what she was saying in context with the rest of the movie, and considering their behavior. Like they were both flawed characters in their own way, but I don't know if like uh, I don't think we are shown her side of the equation as much as we were shown his. Like, and even this dialogue, the way it's placed, it just I don't know whether we were supposed to take that as the conclusion, as the sole conclusion from that exchange.
But we are given a lot of details of her life, right? That she basically lives as a single mother, and she talks about the struggles of being a single parent, and uh,
Hmm.
in the ways that her life could be if the relationship was successful, and
Yeah.
all these things. So we do
Okay.
understand a little bit of her story as well. That, yeah, she moved to Italy. Some 8 years ago,
Yeah.
something like that. And it kind of lines up with the whole story of mother and child in front of the
Missing
sculpture.
the sculpture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then. Oh, okay. I suppose so. Is there
Hmm.
anything else? I
Um,
think
Yeah,
yeah,
there was
just
some.
one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is it fine?
of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, the thing about the barista thing, and the one thing she said was about work and husband, men or husbands are too focused on work and hanging out with friends. But I think the friends one was just mentioned in a single line.
Hmm.
And at the end, just before they're about to leave, the writer says, I think I lead my life and my family lives theirs.
Hmm.
So for me, that kind of sounds like, how, if not men, the man is trying to, is going to an extreme length in order to define himself outside of his, define his life outside of his family.
Hmm.
And how that negatively impacts his family members.
I want to get Samartha's take on the matter because from all of us, he's the only one who's married.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if he has a more
Uh,
mature take on this.
I'm going to be honest with you, and it may sound crazy, but I've had
Samartha, be careful. It is on record. Your wife may.
good point. I know, but I'll be very honest with you. I prefer to be honest rather than lie about it. But I've had conversations like this with my wife at times. Not that it's always like this, but when things are bad, I think that's why this film resonated with me. I mentioned the other couple where it was like this itself, like their whole relationship. It was a close relative of mine. Unfortunately, they're divorced now. But in the case of my own relationship, sometimes when uh, it's not even about good or bad, but it is the questioning. Like I think Muhammad brought up a very good point that after you get into a certain depth in the relationship, you tend to question the various aspects that are part of the foundation of the relationship. I've seen that, I've only been married for like 7, 8 months, but we talk about these things at times. And I think it can happen in anyone's relationship. So if you've been married, and especially in her case, or their case, I'm saying it's very doubtful because based on how you say which is real or not, they have a kid as well, right? So it's gone pretty far, and it's a quite a mature relationship if it existed. So a lot of married people, I think, can relate to this. It may not be as bad as is shown in the film, but I think the topics that are discussed and brought up are something that will come up at some point in every marital relationship.
But Samartha, do you agree with the film's um, suggestion that for men, their work and their career is their real identity, not their family?
I think it depends, because
It,
to be honest, I've seen, especially in recent times, I've seen role reversals, like women being more of the sheet anchor in the family and men. It really depends. I think that's a little bit of a stereotype, but it also depends on the working class and the society. Like say if you take farming or agriculture in the 18th century, right, or even in the 19th century, or even till recently, yes, that would be what they're talking about.
yeah, but in the film, it comes from an old lady, right? So we have to keep in mind that we are hearing about her worldview.
Yeah, she's kind of like, I don't know, she feels like a woman who has come from that kind of a background, a working class background. But still, I felt it's kind of a generalism to say that for a man, a work is worship because that depends on a lot of different things. I've known men for whom that's not the case, quite a few actually, and then for some for whom it's a balance. So there's really a distribution rather than what she says. So I wouldn't fully agree with her about that because there are also women for whom work is worship. Like it's not that every woman is a homemaker or like Juliette Binoche in this film. So it can go either way, I think. But I think traditionally, yes, I would agree with. Like if you look at Indian society itself, if you look at our parents' generation, it's kind of true, because they are, the work is worship in a sense for them. But also, you may ask yourself as to why, because in some cases, I think they get over involved with the work to escape from the reality. Like if there is unhappiness in the relationship, like I've heard that this character James Miller, right, the writer, whatever you want to call him, but if that part is real, if he's the writer, I feel part of who he is or why he is like that is because I think she uses a phrase. She says, "I know you're cold, but that's part of your defense mechanism, right? So
Hmm.
it's okay." And that kind of interested me because I've known people like that. And the reason I'm bringing that up is for some people, work is a defense mechanism against the ugliness of the reality. Like if somebody is staying at office till 10 p.m. every day and working on the weekends also, you may say work is worship for that person, but it may also be because they don't want to face their wife or their family or something like that. So there are all these interesting aspects to that point. I think it's a blanket statement to say what she said, but in certain contexts, I think she's right. Certain societies, certain eras, certain classes of society, things like that. That's definitely certain cultures. If you look at the Japanese, for example, you might agree, right, that work is worship for them, especially for the men. So it really depends. But yeah, in some cases, yes.
You brought in a very good point, that a lot of people, I'm not going to say men, women, I'm just going to say a lot of people uh, who are career focused tend to go in that direction as a form of escapism. And that's very interesting because
Yeah, yeah,
in
that
my
was
second,
really, really important point he made.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. Very good point. And because I had an observation of the film along similar lines, which I hadn't gotten a chance to bring up yet, is that I thought he was a failed writer because in his opening statement at the seminar, right, he says, I'm not an academic, I'm not an art critic, uh, I'm not a theorist. I've just made an observation, I've written a book about it, and somehow it has become famous. So it's almost like he's landed into success by accident. So I'm assuming for the last 10, 15 years, he's not been a prolific writer or a famous one. So that might explain why he's so deep into his work, because he's questioning himself whether he's good enough or not. And in the process of doing that, he's abandoned his family. That his quest for success
Uh,
is so serious that he lost the greater picture.
and also maybe trying to escape the reality, whether it's professional failure or his family issues. You
Yeah, his
know,
family issues, it seems like it stems out of his professional incompetence.
yeah.
He also said he wrote the book to convince himself.
Right. Right. Mohammed, were you saying something?
Nothing. What Samartha bought was because I myself have experienced that. I tend to be with my teaching rather than being with my family. That I don't know. It irritates me, or uh, it is a what to say. I feel that conversation, family conversation, relationship conversation, just I get really fed up with that conversation. So I prefer, yeah, Max is better because it's directional. You know the consequence immediately. So yeah, that escapism from this reality. So work definitely does, but again, work is worship. That is true, but other many of others like me myself, we use it for our advantage of just getting, we are hiding ourselves with a label that, yeah, we are in work, I am working, so better not talk me. So that really opened me, means that point was really relevant what Samartha about.
Right. And now that I think about it, I don't know if we've covered this in the discussion in small pieces, but maybe we can talk about it one last time before we move on. Is that in the film there are multiple artworks which show up, and they all have some sort of role in one of the characters' lives. In what do you call the backstory? There is, the statue of David in Florence that mother and child go to visit, and it has such a great impact on the husband that he writes a whole book about it. Then this woman runs an antique shop, so clearly, she's obsessed with collecting artworks to a point where she's made a profession out of it. Then they go to see a painting at a museum, which is supposedly not the real one. Then they see, what do you call, the statue at the plaza with the husband, wife, and the child. So that has some implications on their relationship. So this sort of repetition doesn't happen by accident. So I was wondering, is there anything else that we can get out of this? Is there anything that we might be missing here? Any connection?
I actually had quite a bit of a doubt myself, because from what he seems to say about copy and originals, he seems to value the subjective perspective, and he in fact says there are no rules or anything in the start, but he seems to be really dismissive of what the lady says. I'm trying to avoid saying the wife because I don't believe in that theory. But what the lady says when the lady, why she feels moved by the piece, he calls it sentimental, he calls it why focusing on its subject. And he also seems to be kind of uninterested in what the strangers have to say on that topic too, and why they value the thing. So I thought it was a kind of an interesting contradiction, and I was wondering why that was there.
That's a very good observation, that he is criticized for his book and also for his views that it is purely subjective, that his experience is the only valid experience. And that is a stupid take, right? If you think that only one person has the authority to say what is and is not right, that clearly can't work, especially in the art world, which he claims to say he knows not much about.
I don't believe I agree with that. To me, it sounded like what he was saying is everyone finds the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, like that kind of thing.
So you just agreed.
Copy is a copy's stature diminished because it is a copy? He says no, because it is just as valuable. So to me, I don't think you're saying that, but it sounds like
No, but Kritik, you agreed with me. The point is about his theory, that it's a subjective theory. It is not really based in any sort of.
About the second part where one person gets to decide. I don't think that was ever mentioned.
Yeah. So if his theory, going by his theory, going by his book, saying that this is my theory and this is my take on what is and is not art, and he doesn't seem to give anybody else any platform to talk about this. Even his supposed wife is not interested in entertaining any ideas against it, which is why he's criticized that his theory is entirely subjective. So that can't fly. I'm not saying that the theory is wrong, but
the contradiction,
to give
right?
the entire authority to one single person cannot work.
Do you think that's a contradiction in his personality or his ideology or his belief?
I think that, since he claims that he's not an academic nor is an art historian, he's not sure of himself, which is why he gets frustrated when his ideas are challenged. There is a saying, I can't remember the exact words, but people tend to get angry when they run out of points to argue about. That when you don't have points to defend yourself in a debate, people tend to get angry and be the loudest one to win the argument. So, in a way, getting angry in an argument is a sign of losing, because it shows that you don't have any other arguments to prove. And you see that, right? Like, he constantly gets frustrated whenever his ideas are challenged. So it shows that he's not sure of his own theory. He's not confident.
I don't think he constantly gets frustrated,
He
especially when
does. He
she
does
was.
get frustrated multiple times, and
But
in fact, Juliette
that was part
Binoche
of
is
the
the
role play.
one. Sorry.
That was part of the husband role play. Those I don't know
Yeah,
that
whether it
frustration.
is a role play or not, that is
But
also to
when,
be questioned.
like when she spoke about her son and she said, "Your philosophy will not work there. Look, he has
Correct.
to study and all." And this guy is very calmly. I was very impressed. He was so calmly, not being offended by all that, and saying, it's these things may not matter, and
No,
there are things
he
to
is.
appreciate.
So that happens near the museum, right?
Um,
Before they
yeah,
walk into
yeah,
the museum.
yeah.
So I thought he was offended that how dare this antique seller question my theory
I didn't
on
get that.
later art. And I'm assuming that is part of the reason why he could not appreciate the painting in the museum, that his mind was still spinning in that direction. Whereas Juliette Binoche is, you see this multiple times in the film. Juliette Binoche, if after every confrontation, give her 1 or 2 minutes, she'll bounce back up and she'll, find
Yeah.
something to smile about. Whereas this guy can't. In the restaurant, right, when they have a fight and this guy storms out of the restaurant, he doesn't come back. He stays out, and she's the one who walks out and gives him bread. And I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going to make a suggestion here that breaking bread together is seen as a symbol of unity. So the whole reason why Thanksgiving is celebrated in the US, because the natives and the colonists came together, sat down on the dinner table and broke bread together, meaning they decided to have peace, and it's form see, I don't know how to say it, but yeah, it's a form of unification, it's a form of peace, it's a peace offering, that kind of thing. So breaking bread is a form of showing affection.
Conciliation, a
Sorry,
kind of
reconciliation. Yeah.
yeah,
So
reconciliation.
she actually gives him a piece of bread, and yeah, she gives him 2 pieces, and he takes 1 piece and he starts eating it. Whereas you don't see her eat. So he didn't wait for her to eat the bread together. He started eating himself. Again, shows self-centered bubble he lives in. So
Yeah, I can quote one example again, that
better
in
call
the photo, right?
what is that?
Many are there. Even that photo, when that bride is dragging him to take a photo, so he doesn't give any importance to others. What to say, feelings, how important it may be for them, though he may not be interested at that moment. Yeah, he is completely self-centered. And as you said, that whenever he is out of his arguments, means out of his what to say, reasons to support his theory, he gets out of control. He starts showing out his frustration. Yeah, I can agree with you.
Right. So he doesn't want to take pictures with the newly married couple because he's so cynical about weddings or marriages in general that yeah, they're happy today, but just wait for 1 year and you'll see that they'll all be miserable.
And he calls it illusion.
Yeah,
But
because
she contradicts him that it's the sweet illusion. Let it be.
and the funny part is he was so lost in his work that he never took the time to play the role of a husband, except for this role play. So without playing the
when
role of a husband, he's trying to say that marriage is a lost cause. Sorry, ADP, please go ahead.
yeah, when I watched it, I didn't feel like he was unjustified in saying that he didn't want to take a photo. I think he was, for some reason, he was in a bad mood at that time. I feel like other times he was very fine with appeasing other people's requests, like talking, asking questions to people, like at the statue of the fountain and all that. But I feel like this time he was not in the right mood, and he was clearly just saying that I just don't want to take a photo. But that's a good point. It's probably like he wrote the book to convince himself or something, right? Maybe that's just what it was all about, that he came up with this theory of whatever his book is about because of how his previous marriage ended or something like that.
Oh,
So
I
it's
also
sort of
wanted to.
desperation.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead, I'm done.
And I also wanted to bring up this question that when you are tired, when you are exhausted, and your means your children or your wife or the people as general, you have to meet those responsibility. Like here, he is asked to come for a photo, but whereas he's means in that moment he's not feeling it like having a photo. uh, so my broader question is, when you are not, what to say, settled with your own self, and the world demands you to be there, you have to be there for them. How justifiable is that, that we have to sacrifice our own feelings when we are unhappy, still we have to go and show up for wife's needs, for public's needs? What do you people think? I have always questioned this, that I'm not feeling well today, but I have to go and teach my students. And it may also will same with the wives, that I'm not feeling like going out today, but I have promised my wife that I will be taking her for a uh, outing. What do you guys think that, how justifiable it will be that to suppress our own moods at that moment and just satisfy others?
It depends on the personality of a person, what they have been led to believe is more important. Like me personally, I just say that you have to only do something when you're being honest about. It's a kind of like honesty, right? Like you do something when your heart is with it in it. Not there's no use doing it half-heartedly to appease someone else. Just be true about what you're feeling. And that's just personal. I feel like this is not something.
But I think it will also have a great consequences, repercussions on our relationship with that person, or a, yeah, Samartha, you were saying.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I have to go and call my wife. Otherwise, I will become James Miller.
Before you go, do you want to take Mohammed's question? I think this is the question
Yeah,
that should.
I'm sorry, I lost track just a little bit. I was texting my
So
wife for the last.
his question is about how do you respond to obligations, in the sense that when the world asks something of you. In this film, the bride asks the writer for a photograph. He clearly doesn't want to take the photograph, but this pressure that please come take the photograph. What do you do in that case? Do you focus on yourself and say no means no, or do you be nice to them and play your part just to respect the other person's feelings?
Correct. It's a good question. I say I'll answer it with in the context of relations, right? Because I think that's something that this film focuses on, like a husband-wife relation. Being in a marriage myself, I've realized, you there may be things you like to do or you don't like to do, or like Mohammed said, you're not in the mood, like you're to teach, but you're sick. But I think if as you take on tougher challenges in life and commitments, I think you have to learn to oblige to some extent. Like when in the scene where he says, "No, I'm not going to come for the photo." I think he was just exhausted or something like that. His mood was off, which is fine. That happens every other day, and it's not a like a earth-shattering thing that he didn't do that. But for example, if it is something that he has to do to make his wife happy, right? I think where he failed a lot, if he was the husband of Juliet Binoche, he has obviously failed a lot in his obligations. She keeps reminding him of that. And to me, it's more a concept of sacrifice and compromise, in a relationship rather than, I think obligation is a formal word, but at a more realistic level or plane, it becomes about sacrifice. So if you do, even if you don't like doing something, say, your wife likes watching animated films, someday you're going to watch at least a few of them, right? Because otherwise it's going to be hard. Like if there's so much disconnect between. So I think to answer the question, yes, you have to find a way to oblige and reach middle ground. In some ways, I think I'll not view it as an obligation because an obligation is something you want to do, but you're not fully into it. If it is really like a really quote unquote obligation, then you have to rethink it. It may not be the thing for you. But if you're talking about doing things to make the other person happy in a relationship like that, that's critical. I would say some middle ground has to be eventually reached. I think more of it in terms of uh, compromise, or a sacrifice that each of the partners make, which clearly hasn't happened in this relation between the two. And I think he is James Miller has been made the villain a lot, but also I feel there are many places where she can improve. In like it's not like she is an angel and he is the bad guy. Like I could find flaws in her as well in the way she has approached a relationship. Uh, and also we don't know the full backstory. Even though we spent 2 hours with these characters, it's just it shows us pieces of the relationship. So yeah, that's how I view this whole subject matter.
Well said.
Thanks, Samartha.
I'll see you guys then. Okay, so
Bye.
pray that I don't become James Miller, and I'll talk to you all very soon.
Bye.
All right.
It's
See ya.
nice hearing
Bye.
from you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye, Samartha. Yeah, Vivek, that answer was really helpful. It may help me protect my marriage in future. Yeah, yeah, we have to find some way of compromising ourselves. Like
I
it's
have a similar answer to what he said.
yeah,
Uh,
and it made more sense to me more
yeah,
than
yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah. What I was going to say is that, everyone has two personas. One is a private persona and one is a public persona, right? So when you're in your private persona, let's say at home with your own family, I think there this concept of being genuine, being honest, being true is all okay. Like if you tell your mom or if you tell your wife that, hey, I don't want to take a picture, they should know you well enough to respect that. But when you go out, let's say you've gone to a dinner at someone's place, then there's a concept about who's on whose time. That someone has invited you, so you are going there. So you are obviously taking time from them. Or if you are the more important one, you are giving them time. So let's say you're a chief guest at a big event, that's a different situation. But if you are going to a dinner at your boss's home, that's a different story. So depending on the situation, you may have to give in to these obligations out of
And
respect.
I agree with what you're saying, but for different reasons. I feel like it's true you should be able to do that. I think that requires like reprioritizing, rearranging your priorities, and then being honest. That becomes your next honesty, right? Like,
You can
okay,
still be honest. Let's
yeah,
say I go to my boss's apartment for dinner, and he says, let's make a TikTok video, and I say, sorry sir, I can be honest. I can say I'm really not comfortable with video and never have been. So if you want, I'll shoot the video for you, but I don't want to be in it. then it's up to the boss to respect my wishes and leave me alone. But if they're not able to do that, or if they're insisting, saying please or something, then you have to kind of give in at that point, within the limits of your comfort zone, of course.
Yeah. That's not exactly what I meant, though. Like,
Yeah.
suppose the same example, I'm at my boss's place and he asks me for something I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah.
But then I can just reprioritize and say that, you know what, what's more important to me is making him happy on his birthday or whatever. This is right. So I can find the joy in it also and do it with the right heart, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Makes sense. I'm with you on that. Correct.
Like the same thing with marriage also, or relationships.
Yeah, you have to
end up
think
when
about
you're
the bigger
in a
issues.
relationship. When you're in a relationship with someone, it's not necessarily that all your interests align or anything of that sort, but then you find them interesting because it interests the person you care about, right? So their priorities become yours, not because it's not something you don't like, but because it's something someone you likes, and you not impress them, but because that's how you value things. They're important to you because it's important to
and I think there is a thin line. We have to protect our limit. What to say? That you.
Yeah, not everything will fit in.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like boys, they completely change for just to please girls in a not in a relationship. Marriage is after that they don't care about that. I've seen people, they go drastic characteral changes. I think that shouldn't be that means hampers your personality.
In that case, Mohammed, the girl will fall in love with this fake personality, not the real person.
Yeah,
And someday that fake personality will break.
Yeah.
So either you actually commit to the changes and you actually, self-improve to the level that you want to be seen as. Either you do that, but if you pretend to be someone you're not, one day the illusion will break. You cannot keep this up for the rest of your life.
So the main character here, he's being completely original. He says that, I am more theoretical, I am more self-centered. So this is what I am. I'm a selfish person, but he doesn't say it out, So there, I think I can sympathize with him. That he's being true to his own philosophy, his personality. That thing I really liked. But again, the female character, she's trying to find some compromises, trying to build up that relationship, affection. Both are right in their own places.
In the end, what is more important to you? Is your family more important, or is your career more important?
Yeah.
And you could argue that career will come and go, family will be there. That you'll win some awards and you'll do some seminars, but after 10 years everyone will forget. Or if you're lucky, they won't forget. You'll keep doing seminars. But is that the most fulfilling thing in your life? Or that is a question that we need to answer for ourselves.
I think in this Breaking Bad, there is one dialogue that villain character says to this man, Watson, Mr. White. He says that man always provides for his family. So your man provides career. So he gives importance to the career. See, somewhere I think family is also money. Money is the question, ultimate question. If he doesn't dedicate himself wholeheartedly, complete his whole soul into it, then what's the point of having a career? For protecting the relationship, you definitely need money, and he's doing his best. As a man, I'm speaking, not just this character, but if I am married, definitely I have to provide for my family. Then I have to dedicate myself to the career. But you don't know, when we start losing our family and getting more attached to the career.
Mohammed, I have an example for you.
Mm-hmm.
In this example, um, the husband has a dream career, right? Some creative career that he has. He wants to be successful in that career, creative field, but he's not able to make money out of it. And this is a real story, by the way. And the household is being run on the wife's income. So this guy is following his career, but he's not making money out of it. The woman is, the wife in the household is providing for the family. And because of the wife, the husband is able to pursue his career. And I can tell you who this is. This is the director Ang Lee, uh, who's won multiple Oscars. So in his struggling days, he survived on his wife's income for many years. Without his wife, he would not be able to follow filmmaking. He would be doing a desk job somewhere. So, so yeah, the roles can change, and the roles do change sometimes. Sometimes the wife provides for the house, sometimes husband provides for the house, and sometimes husband is the one who has a dream career that they need to pursue. But do you see in this equation how they are paying attention to each other while still following what they want? So, like Samartha said, there has to be a balance,
Mm.
and that is what is missing in the relationship in the film.
Mm. Yeah, it's really rare to have such kind of person, even our family members sometimes object to our, what to say, just eating, sleeping. Uh, but
Hmm.
I may be dedicated to my art, but they may
Hmm.
not see it. But having a partner who believes in our talent and is ready to invest their life into us, into our pursuing our art, it's really rare, really.
It's not rare, because if you are true to who you are, I'm sure there's someone who will appreciate you for who you are, and you don't have to pretend to be some macho guy to find a girlfriend. I'm sure there's many girls who are looking for someone sensible, but it's important for you to be completely honest and completely true to yourself before
Mm.
starting that relationship. And if she accepts that, okay, that Mohammed has a creative career and there might be some roadblocks for a few years, and I still want to go down this path with him, then you'll have this sort of relationship. But if you pretend to be someone you're not, or if you pretend to be that I'm focusing on career, that means I cannot focus on relationship, nothing's going to work. Both of them are not going to work. Neither the career nor the relationship. So Samartha is absolutely right when he says that there needs to be a balance.
Mm. Yeah, I think I will start from now to for praying for a understanding partner.
Um, don't forget to invite us to the wedding.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Kritik, are there any points that we have to cover?
Um, I don't have much to add, but one thing that Mohammed said kind of latched on to me, and it's not very relevant, so I'll just go ahead with it. He said man provides, men provide, or man provides for family, man is better. But I was thinking, but you can't have a family without a woman, because they technically they give
Kritik,
birth to.
Kritik, just to correct myself, I was just quoting
Yeah, yeah,
dialogue.
yeah. I understand. I understand. I understand. So, that kind of click. Yeah, but you can't have a family without a woman. So it was
Yeah,
quite
woman
interesting to
is
see
needed for a
how they.
family, but provider. Usually, man is a provider in a family. So just quoted that.
Yeah, yeah. Breaking Bad. I remember that. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's quite interesting. It's like, are we trying to justify our existence or our position, whatever that might mean? But it's a quite interesting thing. I don't know if you guys find it as interesting as I do, but.
Yeah, I think it's like justifying our distancing ourselves from the family, justifying that yeah, we are busy in providing you, so better not disturb me.
No, like I understand that, but you can't have a family without a woman, like because women give birth to kids, right? So women provide the kids, so we have to do something else for the family.
Something else.
But
So
I just wanted to say, providing is not an excuse to not play your roles. By roles, I mean, you can't just say that, hey, I'm bringing the majority of the income of the household, so I will not have time to be a loving husband or a caring father.
it is not an excuse, but it
Yeah,
is used as an excuse. I mean,
it
it's
is
not.
used in some cases, like Samartha said, right? Work is a form of escapism for some people.
Hmm.
They're so wound up in pressures of life that they use work as an excuse to get away from all these pressures. So maybe that's a lesson for us to learn from this film, that there's many things that we have to work on ourselves before committing to a lifelong relationship. And unless we do that, we'll be hurting the other person as well.
Before we end, I have a one more question to ask. Shall I?
Of course, of course.
Uh, so the female actress looks into the mirror. She is trying to make up her, and
Hmm.
at the end also the actor also looks into the mirror. Okay.
Hmm.
So I was thinking, why was when the woman is there, her background is closed, whereas the man's the backside window is open.
Hmm.
Again, I thought there will be some metaphorical reason about these characters through this background. Can you
Hmm.
help me out understanding this?
Hmm. So, yeah, this film is packed. The more you dig into it, the more you find it's one of those films, which is why I my personal opinion, this is Kiarostami's best film. But I know a lot of people may not agree with that. Then I have an interpretation, but I don't want to say it because then it will,
I think
it
you can
gives.
go ahead because we are at the end of the discussion, and I think Mohammed mentioned a video
Or
of Abbas
I was
himself.
thinking, if you guys are curious, I'll tell you guys after the live stream.
Yeah, sure then.
Sure, sure. But I also saw
The,
the video Mohammed was talking about where Abbas gives his opinion on the film,
oh, does he? What does he
and
say?
boy, he comes out like love is an illusion,
Uh,
and love is a kind of a willful misunderstanding between two people,
mhm.
and he kind of goes down that path. I mean, I know he's a brilliant guy, and
Mhm.
I think whatever he says is right. But man, do I hate that idea?
I
Hmm.
think I hated that because it may be we are young, unmarried,
Hmm.
still because we have been grown up watching this Bollywood movie where love is everything. Means we can live on love without food also. प्यार पे means प्यार में जी लेंगे. So such kind of dialogues have been embedded in our psyche. So it's very difficult to.
I don't think it's only Bollywood, but everything, even our mythology, religious stories, everything is kind of like based on that. But
Mm,
you
but
know,
I think Western society doesn't give too much on this love. They give
isn't
more.
that isn't like whole of like it doesn't tie into like husband wife relationship maybe, but like isn't the whole Christian thing based on love and kindness and things?
Mohammed, every film has a love interest, right?
Yeah,
In Hollywood.
that's why it gets sold.
No, even in Hollywood. You said Hollywood doesn't focus on this, and I'm telling you, every film has a love interest.
Hmm. But I
Whether
have
it's
this
a
understanding
actress
that.
or actor doesn't matter, but
Mhm.
if it's a female-led film, then there'll be a hero that she's interested in, or if it's a hero-led film, there's a heroine that he'll be interested in. It's
But
there in every film.
what I was trying to tell is that Western society doesn't give that much importance, or they don't become so much sentimental about this love. They know that if one goes, we can have a better relationship with another man. But in Indian society, we are so much love. Many suicides because somebody has rejected her. Lot of cases we find in India, but I think Western society are more
This
matured.
happens abroad also, Mohammed.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
even I think it
Yeah.
is abroad, but I will agree that they perhaps are society at least is in a more, if not, I don't want to say advanced, but mature.
Flexible, more flexible.
Yeah.
No, I'll give you my take on this. So, when I was a teenager, I realized that I don't want to watch Bollywood anymore because every story concludes in marriage. The greatest problem to solve on earth is marriage. That's what all films are about in Bollywood. That as long as the ending is a marriage scene, happily ever after. And that is such a banal goal to have. And same for Hollywood, by the way. Not saying only Bollywood. The problem with Hollywood, like I said, every film has a love interest. Is because it's cheap conflict. It's easy to write boy meets girl and they don't like each other. 30 minutes later, they love each other. Easy to write that. It is a fake form of adding substance to a film when the rest of the story doesn't have weight. Whereas in reality, you can easily write a film focused on one character or multiple characters without having any love interest. Or if you're writing a love story, you give it justice and do something like this film where you explore multiple dimensions or multiple aspects of a relationship which you may not usually see. So yeah, I mean, it's there. Love stories and all. It's there because it's easy to do and it's what people are used to seeing. Doesn't mean we need to follow any of that.
I do mildly agree with what you say, but I think love stories, it's kind of an ancient thing,
Yeah, it can be
It's
done
been
well.
told down for thousands of years, and there is a
There are
reason
many
why it has
great
survived for
stories.
thousands of years. Perhaps I mean, a love story as opposite of what I'm trying to.
But Kritik, you're a writer, right? Like you understand that you need to set up a conflict and you need to develop that conflict and you need to provide a resolution. Right?
I object to me being called a writer, but yeah, I'm aware of those terms and what we try to do to them.
To do that in most stories, let's say you're doing portrait of a character, that sort of film. How do you set up a conflict in a portrait of a character film? It's not easy. It's difficult. But you add a love interest. There you go. Ready-made, pre-packaged conflict and resolution ready to go. And this is what mainstream films rely on. It's cheap conflict. It's easy to do it, and people are used to it.
Just a doubt that are we talking about husband and wife or male and female love or love in general, like a child loves a mother? Are we
No,
only
relationship, like male-female relationship.
okay.
Or even, if it's a gay love story, then maybe male. Who cares? So, but just adding like a relationship dynamic in the film when it doesn't need one is filler conflict to add more substance into a weak film.
I think that's the only thing. Love is the only thing people can.
Okay, I'll use an easy example.
Mhm.
I don't think
All of your
anybody's.
Batman. right?
I don't think, just one moment, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you, Vivek, but I think I will understand you better if you can tell me what are you building towards.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. All of you have seen Batman.
Yeah.
Does Batman need a girlfriend, wife, relationship, character? Does it add anything to the story?
It develops his character. Means we get to
We
know
know
that
his
character
relationship
through.
with his parents develops his character because it's a life-altering event for him.
Okay.
But what about his
That's
girlfriend?
basically all Christopher Nolan films.
No,
Why?
forget Christopher Nolan. Other Batman films also.
I have not seen any other Batman movies, to be honest.
Fine, Superman. Does he need a
Superman
girlfriend?
also I have not seen.
What have you seen?
Oh, I think I need to go back to Christopher Nolan. Like even Inception is about a wife thing,
So that I can understand because he's
where
trying to,
female
chase a
characters are
memory
like
which will never come back.
where the husband-wife relationship is used as a plot device.
Inception doesn't have a love story.
Uh, well, like okay, perhaps
Inception is
that's a different issue,
yeah.
but yeah, I guess my example was just bad. Yeah.
Boy meets girl, will they, won't they, will they, won't they, and they do finally fall in love. That is the Lego brick of movie building I'm talking about. I say it is unnecessary in most of the films, almost all the films. It's very hard to justify unless you're specifically writing a love story. That's okay, but in most films it is not necessary, which is why I picked a popular example like Batman. The only reason Batman has a girlfriend in those films is because they want to make it a 4-quadrant film. They don't want to market the film only to nerdy guys. They want, you know, um, they want women to also come and watch these films. So somehow in marketing school they've learned that if you put someone who represents a subsection of society on screen, they will come and watch your film, which is not entirely true, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think.
I will not go watch a Hollywood film because a brown person is the lead actor. That is bullshit.
But I'll be honest, that does work a little bit.
It may in some cases, but I can speak for myself that it doesn't at all.
That's because you've been, kino pilled.
Kino pilled? What is that?
Red pilled, right? Black
Yeah.
pilled. Kino is like, it's a joke term for serious film enthusiasts.
No, kino is a German word for film.
Yeah, but on the internet, it's a meme. Like it's what
Okay.
overly serious, pretentious guys.
Oh my God.
People don't
You
like.
called me
Some
overly
guys don't
pretentious
say
serious
movies; they
guy.
say films, right?
On record, you called me an overly pretentious serious guy.
It's a joke. Don't get
Kritik,
worried.
Kritik, I don't. Okay, we are.
Everyone, I would say, everyone in this group is like kino pilled. They see film as some. It's just a joke. It's just something I came up with. I don't think kino pilled is an actual term. It might be somewhere, but kino is a meme. That's it.
Okay.
And red pilled is a meme. I joined them.
Well, I'm joking. You can make fun of me. That's completely okay.
If I call you pretentious, then I mean everyone for such a simple thing, and then everyone's pretentious.
No, if I do come off as pretentious, I hope you call me out. That will be appreciated. I do my best not to be, but if in some cases I cross that line, I would appreciate being called out on it. Okay. So,
but yeah, I think representation really does fuel these viewers. That the big sick.
it has
movie-
become a political issue that you need to represent, this race
For
and
us,
this demographic and this for them to come and see your film, which I don't agree with. And I'll tell you why. This is not a political disagreement. I disagree as an audience member. So,
By the way, do you think we might benefit from ending the live stream just out of curiosity?
It's fine. We're talking about films that can stay on.
Cool.
Anyways, I don't think most people will watch the stream for this long. So
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
yeah. So see, when I was a kid, no, I saw the Supergirl film before Superman by accident. It was playing on TV, so that's what I saw, and I really loved it. Now, if I watch it, it's probably unwatchable because it's a poorly made film. But as a little boy, the little boy just sees magic and he sees superpowers and good versus evil, and it's a classic story. And the director of Wonder Woman, right? She said she, as a child, was inspired by Christopher Reeve's Superman. And that was her goal, that if she can make Wonder Woman something like that for the current generation, that will be a success. She didn't say for current generation of girls, she said current generation in general. It is the media, the pop culture mechanism behind the film industry, which is putting intentions into what she said. That they think that now because of Wonder Woman, girls can finally be inspired. I don't see why they were not inspired by any other films of the past. There have been many good versus evil stories in the past. In fact, I know multiple Star Wars women Star Wars fans, who really love Luke Skywalker. Like they identify with the character. And the reason why people identify with some characters and not some other characters is because they experience the struggle of that character to be good. It's not easy for that person to be good. There's many challenges, and people relate to these circumstances. And people relate to a hero when the hero never gives up and keeps fighting the good fight and finally wins over evil. That is the interesting thing which is happening in storytelling, not the color of the skin or the gender or the race. None of that. So as an audience member, I really do not care if the hero of the film I'm about to watch is black, brown, blue, purple. I don't know. If the
But
film is good, I will watch it.
I think there is a difference between the politics of representation and the marketing of or representation as marketing.
Okay, so
perhaps I don't think Wonder Woman started off as a project to inspire little girls. It was intended to be a good versus evil story, and that thing came up perhaps in marketing, or perhaps it came when the screenwriters themselves were discussing. But yeah, I mean, I know.
no, I'm saying the director of Wonder Woman did not need a female superhero to feel inspired. She felt inspired by Superman, and Superman was representing all of humanity, right? Versus the evil villain who wants to destroy the world. He was representing all of us, that he will fight on our behalf against these supervillain aliens, whatever he's fighting. He's not representing all the males of America. He's fighting for all the humans of around the world. So I don't know, man. I think this whole representation thing is a little hyped, and it got political, so it gets talked about a lot more often.
I heard there's going to be did you hear about the meltdown over Black Superman?
No.
There's
By the way, ADP, do you have a take on this representation issue?
I'm sorry, one second. I might have to go, but I do have something else. I'll just come back.
Okay. No, what happened to Black Superman?
Okay, wait. So, I don't think representation is. I mean, in terms of political nature of the whole thing, it might be getting too much attention, but it is an important thing to think about because so far, for a certain time, writers directors, filmmakers, comic book artists were all men. And as by default, you imagine stories with yourself in it, and by default, most stories have been about men and white men mostly, who were, because they were in the industry, and there ends up being a bad ratio of representation because it's not really reflective of real life, and it doesn't feel like a problem to people who don't care about it. And it's easy to say from the perspective of a man that I don't care about it because it doesn't affect me in a bad way. It's easy for me to project myself into someone with something in his pants. But the experiences of people who are women are different, and the experience of people who are people of color, people who have been in anything are different. They're just not getting represented because the whole media industry has had this overrepresentation on one side. It's a good thing to talk about it because it encourages representation on the other side. It encourages, instead of men writing women, it encourages women to write, for the women writers to be able to write women on the big screen or in books, or that kind of stuff gets to be exposed. So I think it is a good thing to have in conversation always when it comes to film and media. Yeah.
But ADB, these are all, I mean, okay, I don't know how to bring this up. What you're saying is true for America, right? That, okay, America has...
Okay, but how many Bollywood films are about a heroine who's the protagonist?
Sorry, what?
How many Bollywood films are about a female protagonist? How common is that?
How many Bollywood? I don't know. I don't watch Bollywood films, so...
Yeah, I'm just...
Kritik or Mohammed, do you want to answer? I'm sure there are films, but...
I'm sure there are films,
Yeah.
but...
I mean, I don't have any idea.
I can speak for art house films. There's multiple...
Yeah, art house films are out of the... They are parallel to cinema. That's why they're avant-garde. They're at the front line of...
Yeah, I can speak
being
for Indian
revolutionary.
art house films which are female-focused.
Yeah,
I can
definitely
name
true.
you multiple.
Yeah, I can prove.
Yeah, and mainstream movies are very less. Definitely.
But the
there are.
discussion when it comes to about representation, nobody is actually talking about art house films. When the representation, people are talking about when it comes to mainstream films and the things that get seen and get money and the people who get jobs through that. Yeah.
See, from an employment point of view, sure, there is some valid criticism there, but from an audience perspective, I'm struggling to understand how it matters, because see, America has Asian population, Latino population, Black population, this and that.
Yeah.
It doesn't change my decision to buy a ticket whether a brown person is the hero or a white person.
Yeah. But half of the world are women, no matter which country you look at.
Okay.
So it's just going to be easier to relate or to understand motives and to understand goals and.
Some of the members know this, that some of my top favorite filmmakers are women, and I watch those films because they're good films.
They are good filmmakers, I understand.
Yeah, not because they're women filmmakers.
Yeah. I'm not accusing you of anything.
Yeah.
I'm just explaining how this applies to
If they
people
made
in
bad
general.
films, I would not defend them also.
Yeah, that's also absolutely fair.
So, can there be more women filmmakers? I mean, of course, if they are good storytellers and they can make scripts that reach the market, then yes.
Yeah, there's obviously larger, deeper.
It's not easy to make a film. I think it's obvious. Everyone knows that.
And it's not easy to get your foot in the door. Also, you need.
Everyone and their uncle has an idea for a film.
Yeah.
How many will be able to write a screenplay, and how many will be able to write a great screenplay, which is...
How many will be able to get the screenplay accepted by
financed at a market?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That requires connection.
So if you say that in the financing world, women filmmakers are not taken seriously, then yes, I will definitely support.
And stories
that fight. If there are good stories, you need to hear them out.
Yeah,
and not ignore them for XYZ reasons.
So I'd like to say that I think nearly everyone, I think as long as they're kind of a progressive, every progressive person has no problem with the politics of representation, but they have a problem with the marketing of representation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Given how shallow it is.
Yeah. When it comes to money making and When it comes to marketing, this is the latest fad for them to pick up on, right? Like
even
Pride Week or it's BLM, you get the most corporate companies supporting them just so that they get more money out of it and feels flat. Sorry, go ahead.
the scene in
And we can ask this question to Nandita Das, who will be next week. So that will be a good thing to know how exactly how they make way for women.
Yeah, it's a bunch of
that'd be
guys
very
talking about
interesting.
representation.
No,
It's very
that'd be very
Monty
interesting to
Python-esque.
hear from her that she's been a star for many years, right? And most people remember her as a star. But now, for I believe a decade or so, she's been trying to build her profile as a filmmaker. So it'll be interesting to hear from her side that how has the journey been as a filmmaker? Is it more difficult to sell your script or get your scripts financed simply because you're a woman? Or is the pressure equally the same that I have to make a great screenplay and doesn't matter man or woman?
I mean, so whatever you get out of that, though, it's still, what do you call
No,
it? A logical fallacy. What do you call it? It's one person's experience. It doesn't really.
no, but it's still important to hear,
It's
right?
it's important. It's definitely important.
You were just talking about how many female-driven films have we seen. So
Yeah.
best to hear it from someone who's working in the industry and
Right.
has relevant experience to talk about. So, yeah, good point, Mohammed. Maybe you should bring this up next week.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So should we wrap up the live stream and then we can continue talking about other
I'd love to
things?
stay behind, but I have to
just
go.
to yeah.
You guys. This is good. Thank you. See you some other time.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, you're taking off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Nice to have
Bye,
you on the
bye.
discussion.
Thank you for
Okay.
having me.
See
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, Vivek, I'd like to hopefully, because it's kind of a personal thing, go back to what started this whole thing. Do you remember what I said about Abbas's opinion on this, on the theme of his film?
Sorry, would you
Abbas?
repeat that, please?
So Abbas Kiarostami's belief is that love is an illusion, love is a mutual misunderstanding, and but I think me and Mohammed made our points clear. And after that, I'd like to know what you have to say about Abbas's opinion. And since you already said that nobody will watch a live stream this long anyway, you can also give your interpretation of the thing, because you can go ahead now.
Oh, okay.
Before the live stream ends.
Oh, before the stream ends. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get it recorded.
I usually do not like it when, and I believe this is same for filmmakers also. They don't like being asked to answer or interpret their own films, because then it's the final word, right? The discussion is over. No other interpretation is valid because the filmmaker has already said that the film is about 1, 2, and 3. The 3-hour discussion that we're having becomes invalid. So I don't like it when people ask filmmakers to give an official explanation about what the film is about. And in most cases, filmmakers don't like this question either. So he has a cynical take about.
Vivek, I think it's. I would disagree with that. That a film director shouldn't have a solid what to say. Should have an opinion why he's making and what theme means what to. Sorry. He should have an opinion before making a movie. He should be clear that why he's making and what he wants to convey through that movie. Isn't that a purpose of a movie?
Correct. So filmmakers should have an intention behind making a film. That is true. But the filmmaker should not have to explain the film to you after it is released. It is your job as an audience to read the film, study the film, interpret the film, discuss the film. And a film like this can have 2, 3, or 4 interpretations of what is correct and what is true, what is false. But if the director says that, oh, part B was all role play, discussion is over. Nobody can discuss anymore. Because anytime a discussion comes up, the answer will be, hey, Abbas Kiarostami has already answered this question that everything was role play. So it defeats the conversation. The filmmaker should definitely have intentions about whatever they're doing in the film. But I don't think we as an audience member should be asking filmmakers answers to their own films. They should not be forced to interpret their films.
But in that video, I think he is very clear about not the whole film, but the love. That love is an illusion. I think he is very confident that what he wants to convey. I don't know whether he was married or unmarried and how his personal life was.
I've met his son. I've not met Kiarostami, but I've met his son.
Oh, sorry then. Okay, sorry.
So he's married.
Whoa, that's like some crazy meetup.
Sorry? No. I met him by accident.
That's pretty great. Like met him, or like a festival kind of thing?
Met him, said hi, shook his hand, and told him to, congratulate his father for this film, Certified Copy. So I told him I saw your father's latest film, and I really loved it, and I wanted to congratulate him on my behalf. Some student in San Francisco really loved the film. So he said, which one are you talking about? So I said, Certified Copy. I said, no. His latest film is something else. It's coming out in a few months. So that is Like Someone in Love, which had not been released yet. And unfortunately, after Like Someone in Love was released, few months later, he passed away. So I met him by accident because someone I was seeing at that time was doing tickets at the film festival. And I went to see her during my break, and I saw her list, and like Kiarostami was on the list. I said, is that who I think it is? And she said, I don't know. And then I was there for maybe 15-20 minutes, and then this guy comes up and he says, Kiarostami. I said, that's definitely not him. So I asked him, are you related to Mr. Abbas Kiarostami? And he said, yeah, I'm his son. So, yeah. So anyways.
Yeah, I think you didn't answer the main question.
Sorry, I went on a full tangent. So this film, right, now that I saw it after 10 years, and this puzzle has been spinning in the back of my head for the last many years, because whenever I think of this film, I keep thinking, what is the answer? What is the answer? This time when I saw the film, I must say the actors have done such a surgically precise job in the scenes that it's very difficult to interpret whether this is fake or real, even when you are walking with this question in mind. But my interpretation of the film was that these guys definitely know each other. They're not strangers. And they were together at some point. And that boy is really his son. And they're not divorced, but they've definitely separated. And it's been, 8-9 years since they saw each other until, this day, anniversary day. And yeah, so that kind of explains the formality that they have in the first few minutes, and then later on it goes into a full meltdown of relationship drama. So
it's just like, if you say it like that, it exactly reminds me of, what is it, Before Sunset, right? She meets him, the writer, randomly, and then they end up going around the city.
No, it's not like Before series at all. And no discredit to the Before series. They're all really nice films. But this film is much more intricate and much more interviewed then
I
this
would
person-
agree, but just
Yeah.
like a kind of superficial thing, or maybe like just a plot thing. It is kind of interesting
Yeah, it's definitely a puzzle piece.
for your from your interpretation anyway.
And this is something I'm interpreting. It's not the final word, of course.
Yeah. That's just
But it does explain part A being more formal and less comfortable than part B being husband and wife. So, because there's another clue of this towards the end. She tells a story to the cafe lady saying that he didn't even shave on the wedding day. Towards the end, she says, "Today is our 15th anniversary, you could have at least shaved." Without any clue, he himself says, "But you know that I only shave every other day." He was not in that room when that cafe conversation took place. So if it was a role play, then this coincidence could not happen. And because she is the wife of this guy, she gets to, go and sit in the reserved seat, and the organized seem to know her. And yeah, and we don't know what's written in the calling card.
That's very interesting, but now that you said it, it's making me think, why did I think it was a role play?
Same here, Kriti.
No, but I arrived at this after. I'm not saying
Probably
this is the correct
seniors.
one, but yeah, I didn't think about it for 10 years. But whenever I thought of the film, I used to always think that there has to be somewhere they slipped. Somewhere they must have slipped. And there you will find the answer. And this is what I'm thinking. And the whole story about, last night you were snoring and this and that. So I think she did go to meet him in the hotel room. And after he slept, she went back home. So yeah.
Yeah,
But
it
don't
makes
buy
me.
my version of it. I still recommend you to watch the film again and try to solve it on your own. You can keep my interpretation in mind, but don't assume this is the only correct one.
So I was now it's gone. I don't know why. What clue led me to the word
I
role
think
play?
everybody was on the page that it's a role play, right? In the beginning.
Yeah, I was wondering what makes everyone think that. What scene or word or clue made that word stick in our mind? Or that word
Because the
come up?
whole initial interaction that they have, right, from the antique shop till the cafe, is quite formal, and she's basically fangirling over him. But she's not fangirling over the writer, she's fangirling over the fact that her husband is finally back after 8 years of absence. That's why she can't believe he's actually sitting in this car. Just my take.
But that does make sense with the son's conversation also.
Hmm.
Or maybe the son doesn't even know, like
So,
has no memories of his
okay,
dad.
so I'll explain this part also. He wrote the book based on this mother and son interaction in Florence, right? So, mother and son were basically Juliette Binoche and the boy. So, doesn't that imply that they were a family together at some point? That all three of them lived together?
Yeah, even the
But
last,
yeah,
Yeah, sorry, Vivek. I
yeah.
just can't.
And she also says that she's driven from Florence to Rome hundreds of times. So that also shows that at one point in her life, she used to live in Florence, just like that woman and son he talks about. And if you take away 7-8 years from the boy's life, he must have been 2-3 years old, maybe. At 2-3 year old, how can you remember the name of your father? So the boy who's grown up right now, or at least he's still a boy, he knows this person by his name, not as father. And maybe she didn't introduce him as his father because she's not sure if he will play the role of a father or not. So she didn't want him to be disappointed that the father doesn't care about him.
I kind of that's good, man. I kind of applied Hollywood formula, and I think, oh, it's just a coincidence, and that's why she really likes this guy. That someone noticed her or something.
Hmm.
But really, Vivek, I'm really upset, man.
Why?
Yeah, I'm never gonna ask for your explanations anymore.
Why? Why is that? What did I do?
Your answers are too clear.
And
Usually,
Vivek,
I'm the one who has, broad answers. Not broad answers, but I'm the one who takes multiple definitions as agreeable, and you're the one who has clear answers, right?
No. Like, it kind of ruins the
Yeah, that's what I said.
the
You
maze.
never ask a filmmaker for their answer. That if the filmmaker says something like this, whatever I said, if the filmmaker had said that, then it ruins the fun. This discussion would not be 3 hours long. It would be, half an hour long.
yeah,
All I know is I'm not gonna ask you anything more, for any more
Yeah, this is why I
of
said
your in-depth explanations.
I'll tell you guys my interpretation after the live stream ends, because then we wouldn't have all this fun of is part A true or part B true, because we did
yeah,
have some fun trying to solve that puzzle, right?
yeah. Being a detectives,
Yeah, yeah,
like solving the case. Yeah.
yeah.
Even I. One more thing I wanted to ask, whether this fits into the explanation you are giving. That two windows, he says. That woman is walking, her son is following that woman, and that two windows are shown in the last scene.
Hmm.
So I presume that that was the room he was there and he was watching them.
Okay.
Might be.
Oh, I want to ask you guys. In the end, she makes a pleading case saying that stay, at least give this life a chance. You've never played the role of a husband and a father. At least try to do it. And he goes into the washroom to think about it. And that's where the film ends, right? When he walks out of the washroom. So we are not given a conclusion whether he stays or whether he leaves. Do you
The bells
guys?
are some kind of indication that he is going to take that chance.
I don't know. You tell me.
I think bell signifies something auspicious. So he might be taking that. He might be giving a chance for being a good husband and good father. So that is my take, because it ended with the bells ringing, uh, making sound. So yeah, that's my take on. I think he stayed with the woman at the end.
Kritik, do you have an answer about
Uh,
what happened in the end?
I don't have an answer, but I have an opinion. Like, I
Okay.
don't mean it to be like concrete or something, but this is like basically, I feel that this is like fan theory at the end of the day. What did he do? It's purposely like ambiguous, but I don't think he got back because he's kind of a selfish guy from the start. So I don't think he got back.
Do you want my answer?
No, no, no.
No. Please stop with your answers. Enough of your answers. Okay, I won't give you an answer. No problem.
But that's a good question. That, yeah.
But there is
How?
an answer.
Oh no.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we can wrap up the live stream at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So in case anyone was listening for so long, really thank you so much for listening for so long, and we'll see you guys next week.